Hi there, Chris here with another fresh tip for you all. In this video we are going to continue our look at painting Jain Zar from the Aeldari faction. And as you can see, the model has already been painted in the hair and the armor, as we took care of those in the previous video. In this video we are going to work on her mask. We're going to start off with some titanium white, transparent yellow iron oxide, and of course some phthalo blue green shade. These are all from Golden's high flow transparency line. Well, the white's not transparency, but it's from their high flow line. These are water-based acrylics. I like them. They're often not used in miniature painting, but I figured I might as well demonstrate that you can pretty much paint with just about anything. So the ratio I used is basically 4 white, 1 iron oxide, and 1 phthalo blue. And that's just to give me this really kind of off creamy blue color. Creamy, right? And this is going to be basically the base coat over the entirety of the mask, and also her ears and her forehead headpiece thing. I don't know, whatever it is. I don't know, it's Eldar stuff, right? And with this, basically, it's just a straight up even base coat over the entirety. I am trying to be very deliberate in where I'm applying these layers here. I do have to apply this in 2 layers, but thankfully with this paint, it applies quite thin. And so applying multiple layers is not really a huge issue. Phthalo blue green shade, again, this is a transparency. This is the same one we added into our initial mixture. We're going to add a drop of liquitex flow aid, and of course a very generous amount of water. And this is just to break it down. And we're also going to do some thin glazing here onto the surface. We're going to allow it to fall within the recesses around the rune on the forehead, and of course into the shadows on the face. We'll do it also in the ears, above the brow, and of course the cheekbone, and in the mouth, under the nose, and under the jawline as well. With this, it goes by pretty fast, and it's pretty straightforward. Really where you'll notice it the most is on the icon on the forehead, and of course building up the tone within the cheekbones as well as the above the eye. There's also a space between the gemstone and the brow, so we will want to bring more concentration to those areas. But here you can see this is after just picking out some of the areas on both sides of the face, just to demonstrate that both sides of the face are getting painted. Jump back into some titanium white and some yellow iron oxide. Again, we're staying within the realm of golden high flow and just mixing these colors up. And essentially, you may notice that the color that I'm working with essentially is a bone color in other miniature painting lines. So basically, this is more like Ushabti bone, or even Screaming Skull. It's probably closer to Ushabti bone if we're on the Citadel side of things. So anybody who's been wondering like why I'm mixing these all up, and it's just because, again, I mean, they don't come pre-prepared in these swatches, so that's why. As you can see, we are simply applying highlights onto the face. So I'm going for the upper brow as well as the cheeks, the tip of the nose, the bottom of the chin, bottom lip, tip of the ear, and of course the top of the forehead piece here, as well as filling in the runes that are run down towards the gem on her forehead. With these highlights, I was mostly digging the tone here, but I found it was a little bit of a jump here in color. So I take some of the previous mixture and mix it into this mixture. What this would be, I could not tell you, because we're talking about some minor tones and ratios here, but essentially it's just mixed to eye. I was just looking for a lighter color of that first initial mixture we had made, and I'm using that just as a transitional step between the highlight and the initial base tone with the blue shadow as well. Of course, we're avoiding anywhere where the deep areas are where we had applied the phthalo blue, as we don't want to disturb any of that. And so here we're jumping back into our initial mixture of the 4-to-1 white to or is it 5-to-1? I think it was 4-to-1. It's almost like our base color that we're reestablishing all these tones. Again, I initially started with this really kind of off blue tone, And that was just for the base coat, and it was just so I can build and see my shadows as I was building up these highlights. Again, I'm trying to remain quite subtle in these tones, and then we're trying to stay within the realm of, you know, this bone color, but pushing towards blues, not as stark as, say, the hair, but again, in that ballpark. That is our goal here. Again, we're going for more of a spectral type of Phoenix Lord here. Titanium white. Next, we put a couple drops, and we're going to take whatever's left of our previous mixture of that 4:1 of white and iron oxide, mix that in. This gets us pretty close to a color similar to Citadel's Pallid Witch Flesh, where it's just off. It's barely noticeable. It can get confused easily for white, but it is not pure white. And this is going to be our highlight color here. Again, we're just slowly working in our transitions, being very careful as we work our way around the model, and again, trying to pick out these edges. And as we work with these highlights on the face, we are working them smaller and smaller. So each of these little phases will go by fairly quickly. And with the brow, I'm just bringing some more stronger, bolder highlights. She also has eyelids sculpted as well, so I catch a little bit of color on there. Very, very minimal highlight on the tip of the ears. And of course, because I'm not really showing it in these, but I do work on both sides of that face, because again, this model is going to be a completed piece once done. Ultramarine blue is next. We're going to slap a little bit onto our palette here. I'm just grabbing some of the pure color, and I'm filling in the gemstone. And I was initially going to start applying this into the shadows in the face, especially the mouth, because I wanted a bit more contrast there, but I decided against it. I may change my mind later on. I'm going to take our white mixture here and begin wet blending in the transition from the ultramarine blue to this bone color. And then, of course, I come back in with some more ultramarine blue and then just quickly blend and refade that out. And because, again, we're working something that's really small like this is really a fast, easy way of, creating the transitions in the gemstones instead of trying to build up little layers and, things of that nature, or even just, going for something more like the GW Technicals where it gives you a fast option. I wanted to go for a little bit more color depth. We're going to take a little bit of that remainder of the ultramarine blue. We're going to mix it into our previous white mixture. And we're basically just going to color in some of the other areas, like the hoses on the side of her head and anywhere where that it's not exactly, jiving for me as far as color is concerned. Again, I'm sticking with blue in these tones. I also go for a little bit darker blue here, and I do like a little shadow underneath. And I also pick out her little earring as well. You can't really see her other ear that well on the other side of her helmet, but that is pretty much it. And with that, we'll pick out highlights later on. It's not really integral to this. I take a little bit of titanium white. Can't really quite see the dollop there, but I also add that little glint onto the gemstone with this. Again, just to finish off the gemstone and make it look, how like we understand the little gemstones. And I also add a little bit into the eyeballs. And I didn't bother showing this phase of it, but essentially it's pretty straightforward. I apply a little white, and then I take quinacridone magenta. I think it's the opaque color. It's the magenta. And I basically fill that into the eye, not thinning it down or anything like that, as it goes in quite thin, and then simply just add a bit of the previous white mixture into the magenta and build up the highlights until I get to that pure, almost pinkish color, and that's just a central dot in that eyeball. But that is it. That is the mask. Next, we'll carry on with probably that shoulder armor. We'll get that all painted up and looking pretty. And of course, we'll fill in some other details. Big thank you to all my patrons. Without their support, these videos would not be possible. If you're considering Patreon support, click the link in the description below and you'll be taken off to a magical website called Patreon. Take care of those brushes and they will take care of you.